Welcome to Being a Successful Leader with Carl Welty. Carl is a leadership pioneer with years of challenging leadership and consulting experience. Here's Carl with some valuable insights, practical and proven methods for being a successful leader.
Welcome, Carl Welty here, your host for the podcast series, Being a Successful Leader. Our intent with this series, 26 episodes, one airing every week, is to enable you to be a successful leader, to give you the clarity, confidence, and competence, if you will, to upgrade whatever level you're at now and being a leader and feel real good about that and accomplish things for you and your organization, be that as an organization as a whole or a particular organizational unit. Organize this series, 26 episodes, around three what I consider to be imperatives for successful leadership. The first starts with you as a leader, being a skillful, self-aware leader. The second imperative is having a sound strategy, actually formulating and executing a sound strategy. And the third of the three is to then have a culture of commitment, to rally support, get folks behind it so all the arrows are going in the same way. So the three imperatives, again, are you as a leader, skillful, self-aware leader. Second is sound strategy, and the third is culture commitment. We're in the middle of the second imperative, building a sound strategy. And you can always circle back, and I encourage you to do this, to go to my website, welty.com, and click on the leadership resources, and then scroll down, and you'll see a place there where the podcast is hosted. Just click on that and you'll see the list of the past episodes. And obviously feel free to click on any of those and listen to those either initially or as a repeat. That's a nice feature to have. The second reason to visit the site, again, under leadership resources, is I have some books, and the particular book that parallels what we're discussing here in the sound strategy is my book called Making and Fulfilling Your Dreams as a Leader. So I highly recommend, if you haven't gotten that book already, to do so. You can get it on my website just by clicking the resource you want, clicking the book and then the resource, Amazon or Barnes & Noble or the publisher, and take it right to the page to order the book. And the two complement each other very well, talking about it here and then having the book as a resource to give you extra detail, charts, graphs, that sort of thing, and an ongoing reference. Okay, each episode is about 15 to 30 minutes, and today's episode is crafting action plans, project specifications. What I've done here is that as we move from concept to action and action plans or project plans, is to divide the action planning episodes into two. This first one is on the getting started and defining success, project specifications. And the second one next week will be on action planning, work planning, getting down to specifics. Okay. Now, I've used before the example of strategy formulation being a narrowing process. We go from general, more specific down the line. Actually, I have four segments. The first is a situation analysis, which you've already covered. Go back and check that out if you didn't get that. And that's where you get started, getting your bearings. What's happening in your relevant external environment? And again, you always want to start from the external in. Don't want to be a bureaucracy. So you have to start with your clients out there. What's going on? And look at the factors that are germane to your situation. Identify critical areas of focus that you need to think about and maybe act on in terms of the factors operating in your external environment. Then turn it to your internal environment, your organizational capability to constructively address these various external strategies, potential strategies that you've identified. So that's the situation analysis. Then you take the handful, again, focus, the critical few areas of potential strategic focus, and you convert those into what I call vision elements. They're the heart and soul of your what I call translatable, actionable vision, not some pithy general statement, but something you can drive off of. And the vision elements that are derived from your situation analysis provide that bedrock for you. Then you wrap that vision elements with a vision statement, kind of an overarching umbrella statement. So situation analysis, then you go to vision, then you take those vision elements and you develop a strategic path by taking a look at what are some options for strategies to make these vision elements come alive? How are you going to accomplish these things? And you convert them into strategies, things you're going to do, pretty much still at a general level. But again, you're going to come up with, no more than hopefully 8 or 9 of these strategies. Again, you can only have so much on your plate. And then again, under strategies, you want to convert those into a master plan. This will become your key document, your guiding document for you and your leadership team as you execute and monitor and modify your work in progress in terms of your master plan. So situation analysis, vision, strategies, and then you take each of the strategies in your master plan and you think through, you and your leadership team, how are we going to do this? These are the actions. They may be very simple. They're important, but it could be very simple. It's just a matter of commitment, or they could be very, very complex. So they're scalable. We'll talk all about that. We used a metaphor too, that parallels these steps in the strategy formulation. You can think of the vision as the architect's rendering. If you're building a custom home for yourself, and you start with an architect's rendering, and then you go from there to the strategies with like the blueprint for you and the architect and the general contractor to start really making more specific your thoughts about the custom home. And then finally you start with the actions. You're actually building the home. You're grading and setting the foundation and that sort of thing. Maybe not you, but the contractor and the subs. Okay. All right. So let's get started with the action plans here and the project specification part of action planning. An action plan is I define as a process for logically defining, communicating, and implementing a course of action to effectively and efficiently complete a project. So logically defining it, communicating about it, implementing a course of action, and then going about it effectively and efficiently. It's very important in any part of the strategic planning process, but certainly with action planning, is to go slow to go fast. I know you might be anxious to start building this home or whatever, or accomplishing this particular strategy, but you need to slow down and give some quality thinking and interacting with you and your leadership team on the front end for each action plan or project plan. It'll pay off. And you want to get the stakeholders involved as appropriate, anybody that has an impact or would be impact with regard to the strategy. So well-crafted action plans will save you time in implementation. Go slow to go fast. And the other key thing that I briefly mentioned is that action plans or project plans are scalable. Depends on the magnitude and the complexity of the strategy. Again, it's not exactly the same as importance, because you could have something very important, but you and your leadership team just need to commit to that and define what success looks like, and then to monitor that. On the other hand, other strategies will involve a lot more deliberate plotting of actions and steps. I have 5 steps in crafting an action plan. 2 we'll deal with here and the other 3 next time. Number 1 is project specifications. Again, if you have the book, this will be easier to follow as time goes by. Defining success is what project specifications are all about. And again, with hard projects like building a house or constructing a power plant or something like that, the budget and the steps and the timeline is all part of that. But sometimes in softer projects, like some of your projects probably most of them, this step is often skipped over, and it's critical. You can't do that. So then today we'll also take a look at what I call implementation opportunities and challenges, taking a look down the road before you actually start developing your work plan, what lies ahead, and having it identified and defined what that might be. We can maybe take steps and build actions into our plans to prevent or to deal with those occurrences if and when they do appear. The third of the 5 steps in crafting an action plan is what is called in project planning a work breakdown structure. That's scoping out the work to be done in terms of work packages and related tasks. We'll deal with that next time. And then if needed, a work plan. This is taking your work breakdown structure and detailing it out in terms of steps and accountabilities, timelines, and that sort of thing. And the final is team agreements, committing to one another, you and your leadership team or whoever else is involved in a strategy with any of your, or a project plan with any of your strategies, committing to one another and whatever be the resultant commitments there also. We'll deal with that next time. Okay. And action plans, again, are scalable. You'll always want to include the project specification step, even though the action planning itself may be not that complex. You and your leadership team and other people involved have to define success. I also say that at the minimum, you want to look down the road, what I call implementation considerations, and see what lies ahead. And then the scalability will continue. If you need to really get down to nuts and bolts in your work planning, you'll want to start with the work breakdown structure and maybe go ahead with the more detailed work plan. Again, we'll describe that next time. And for any project, you'd want to have team agreements, you and your leadership team or whoever else is involved. What do you commit to one another? And also what would be the accountabilities of those commitments? Okay, step one, project specifications and defining success. This crucial step is again often skipped, and you can't afford to do that. It's a given. You must define success at the outset. And again, and people's anxiousness to get started and pound nails or lay cement or whatever, or in your case, develop the actions and go for them in the project plan. You often get too rambunctious. You need to back up and go through the project specifications. So the structure, this is what I recommend in a structure for an action plan or project plan. Summarize the business opportunity or challenge. Why this project or initiative? Why now? Okay. This is usually done in one page on a piece of paper, page and a half at the most. Okay. But what's important is the quality thinking and interacting that you and your team are going to do in developing the project specifications. State the objective, one sentence summary, well-stated sentence about the end result. The third is define desired outcomes. How do you know success when you see it? These are the when statements I've often talked about already in this series. When this happens, when that well-crafted summaries of evidences that will let you and your team know that you've accomplished whatever it is you're set off to accomplish with this action plan. There's a quick process here called goal analysis. And again, in the book, it'll detail it for you. But goal analysis is a way to clear up fuzzy statements, abstract statements. And what you want to do is write down your goal. The steps are goal, jot, sort, label, expand, test. Goal, jot, sort, label, expand, test. What is your goal? In this case, our objective. Goal is usually a higher level of statement. Objectives, you could have several objectives for a goal. But here you have your project objective or action plan objective. And then you want to just jot down mind bursts, things that come to mind. The way our mind works is not all that linear all the time. It's just mind bursts. Get it down on a piece of paper or Post-it notes, put them up on the board, sort them out and so forth. So jot down, and you and your team on just Post-it notes or on the board or whatever, then sort them out into logical categories. When working with a group, this goal analysis is labeled affinity diagram. Same thing, but you're taking different mind bursts, if you will, and then sorting them down to affinity-like clusters, things that relate to one another. Goal, jot, sort, then label each of these sorted out clusters, if you will, with a word or two that describes what that cluster is. Then expand it into a full statement. These are your when statements in your project specifications. When this happens, when that occurs. So when you want it when, because it's going to be in the present tense. These are things that actually did occur. Then you know you're around bullseye. And then the final is test. If all these things did happen, would be somewhere around accomplishing what we want to do in this project plan. Goal, jot, sort, label, expand, test. The next in your project specifications is to, or in your action plan is to describe the value. What is the value if we were to achieve these outcomes? The next to final would be key roles and authorities. This is in summary fashion. Remember that we talk about the difference between accountability and responsibility. The accountability is who's accountable for the overall desired results. and responsibilities, maybe a few people that are responsible for specific activities to carry out the plan. And the final in the project specification would be timing. What is the anticipated beginning and ending date? All right. Now, the second of two steps is of the 5 steps of the action planning creation. First would be in the project specifications would be to, this is kind of a unique thing I don't think you'll find anyplace else, is to implementation opportunities and challenges, looking down the road, what lies ahead, and then discovering these sorts of things and kind of fleshing them out, then maybe build in preventive or contingent actions in your action plan so you can best deal with these possible occurrences. I have 3 methodologies that I have. They're well spelled out in the book, but let me briefly go over them right now. Stakeholder analysis, force field analysis, and risk management. These are kind of concepts or tools for you and your team to use in looking down the road. Stakeholder analysis is nothing more than taking a look at who are the players that could be impacted or have an impact on the action plan. Who are the key players? And you can just sit down and talk about that with your team. But kind of a neat way, and again, the book provides this, is a political action map, I call it, where you could take a piece of paper and draw a vertical line in terms of the potential power that somebody has, either position power or personal power in terms of affecting the action plan. And you could have a scale of, let's say, 0 to 10. 10 would be somebody that's really key in affecting your plan here, either because of their position or because of their influence. And then on the horizontal line at the bottom of your sheet of paper, you can list receptivity. What is the excitement or the resistance or whatever of the people that would be on your political action map in terms of your potential or your action plan or project plan. And again, you can use -10 and to a +10 scale. I call the people in the minus column alligators, and the people in the plus column allies. So who are your alligators and allies? So you plot that all out, and you're going to have several people appear there. And then you and your team are going to say, now, where do we need to reach out to and really spend some time with some of these key players and develop their support, educate them. Really important to educate people on the front end. And when you go visit these people, you're going to decide who's going to do it, how we're going to do it, and so forth. When you go visit them, remember that they're not going to have the same missionary zeal that you and your team might have. This is maybe brand new to them. So the importance of educating. And the very fact that you reached out and involved in the process, they're going to be more excited, better educated, and so forth about your project than if you did not do that and all of a sudden they start to see you implement it. So key stakeholder analysis and the map to go with it, okay? You also want to talk about how you're going to keep the communications up with these key players on your political action map. The second of the 3 tools is force field analysis. This is taking a look at the driving forces and restraining forces. So you can put a line down another sheet of paper, put a line down the middle, and that's the status quo line. And what are the key driving forces? And they all have different valences. Some are small, some are large in terms of your project. Why is this a good deal? Some are very strong, some are nice to have. But what often is lacking is to take a look at the other side of the line, the restraining forces. What are some of the resistances out there and so forth that are getting in the way? And sometimes you can make more mileage moving the status quo line more towards the goal line, if you will, by taking a look at the resisting or restraining forces and how can you lessen that. Part of it will be in the education process that we talked about in the first tool with the political action map to lessen those forces. So instead of just driving, what can we do to lessen the resistance forces? Force field analysis, very, very handy tool. You can use it continually. Again, review the book and it'll give you some good examples there too. And the last of the tools in terms of looking down the line, implementation possibilities and in terms of things that could get in the way is risk management. Again, what could getting to think about some of the things you're going to be doing in your action plan, even though you haven't really identified all of them yet and so forth. What are some of the risks that are out there, things that could go wrong? Okay. And again, the second part of it, if they do go wrong, can we build in some contingent or preventive action in our action planning process once we get to detailing it, okay? You also want to maybe identify a trigger. How do we know that something may go wrong, and some potential action, and maybe even a point person? So if things start to go off the rails, who's going to take the lead in putting it back on the rails and activating the action that's needed? All right. Again, a lot there. Very, very important. Slow down to go slow to go fast. Spend some quality time up front in the project specifications before you start to go into your actual work planning. All right. So hopefully you got a lot out of that. I'm hoping you're feeling really good about developing competence as we go along, and some commitment to be the leader that you can be as we try to equip you with doing so. Okay, that's it for now. Be good. We'll see you next week.